cut out the beginning.
Welcome to another episode of Breaking Boundaries. I'm your host, Saul Mintz, and my guest today is Jose Silva. Today we're sharing insights on the truth. We're representing the recovery community, and where we have today is a lot of blessings upon blessings. To the viewers out there who just want to share insight on the daily reflection today, August 3rd, it says, to be of service. It is clear that God's plan for me is expressed through love. God loved me enough to take me from alleys and jails so that I could be made a useful participant in his world. My response is to love all of his children through service and by example. I ask God to help me imitate his love for me through my love for others. That's a good spiritual insight. And it's a resourceful daily reflection. If you don't have the toolkit, it's called Toolkit. Download that out. Basically, you can do your inventories on there. Daily reflection. That also have the prayers on there. Today, how you doing today, Jose?
I'm good. First of all, that was very interesting because that reading there really hit hard for me.
Mm-hmm.
Almost brought me to tears, honestly, because it has a lot to do with some of what I went through.
Yeah.
And ultimately, like how I got out of what I went through, like in the moment, in the midst of the trauma.
In the midst of trauma.
Yeah.
Wow, man. And a lot of times people don't understand, like, when you go through what we go through, you know what I mean? One thing about it is we gotta get sober, right? But then the next thing is cleaning the house. The next level up to it is cleaning the house. Today, Jose, we wanted to ask you a few questions.
Okay.
And we want to, get to know about you, get to know a little bit about you, okay?
Okay.
Who raised you?
I was raised by my mother and father until I was 10 years old, and they got divorced. I grew up in a city called West Covina in the San Gabriel Valley. I moved there and I was in the 3rd grade. Before that, I lived in Fontana up until the 3rd grade. And if anybody knows that, Fontana, the Inland Empire, not much to do out there, so it's kind of grateful to move to a different city that was thriving and had a lot more to do than walk around in the dirt. No hating on Fontana.
No, I don't know Fontana. So you were born and raised out here in California?
Correct.
Okay, so did you go to school and
Yeah.
How was you in school?
So school, I was a new kid in 3rd grade and was picked on a little bit, right? And was picked on a little bit in in elementary, and then junior high. Junior high.
You dropped out of junior high?
No, I dropped out in my junior year, 11th grade. So junior high is when it kind of all started for me. That's the first time I used drugs.
First time you used drugs. So that was your first encounters with drugs and alcohol. So you did drugs first, or was alcohol came first?
It was alcohol first, just like a sip of a beer that was left around. That was my first, encounter with alcohol, but that was, nothing more than that.
Was there drugs in the house when you were growing up?
No, it was a friend of a friend.
Okay.
Yeah, and so, the guy was at the house, and me and my friend was spending the night. I was in the 7th grade, and it was in 7th grade. We were in the garage. It was like, and I seen him doing bumps, and as a kid, you grew up with Dare and all that stuff, so that kind of, scared me into not wanting to snort drugs, right? But I was like, hey, what is that? And he's like, it's meth. And I was like, okay, what does that do? He's like, it gives you energy, makes you feel good. I was like, okay.
So your first drugs was meth?
Yes, sir.
Methamphetamine.
13 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay, so how did that make you feel? The first time you doing this meth?
The very first time, I didn't want to snort it, right? Because I was scared, snorting and needles and stuff. So all that school stuff, they taught us at school. I was like, okay, but is there another way to do it? So, I smoked it, and when I smoked it, and then I walked inside the house, and not until I got to the stairs, from the backyard to the stairs, I started walking up the stairs and, that started feeling that tingling.
Yeah.
And that tingling, from my feet all the way up my legs to the rest of my body. And from that one hit, I was up the entire weekend.
You was hook, line, and sinker, right?
Yeah. That was all I could think about for, the next 2 years up until my freshman year, but meth is like, I didn't know who to ask for it. I just knew this one person who, I got it from, and he wasn't around very often, so I just, for the next 2 years, I was like waiting in anticipation for the next time he would come over.
Yeah. That was leading to the next question. I was gonna say, how long a period of time was you using methamphetamines?
So between seventh grade and ninth grade, I used it 3 times.
Three times.
Yeah, and then freshman year, I was in my 6th period, and this guy was like snorting lines out of his book in the back back side of the class, and then I knew that's what I had been looking for, and I didn't have to ask anybody for it. I didn't have to go look for it. It was there, So I asked him about it, and he was like, "Yeah, you want some?" And it was, and he was snorting it, and I didn't want to snort it, I didn't. I still was like iffy about snorting it, so but then I didn't know when the next time I was going to have see this again, and
And another thing too, a lot of times people don't understand when you first introduce to drugs, there's a lot of times where you don't know what you're doing. You know what I mean? You just know that you want to do it. And peer pressure, influence. You're saying you had a buddy that was actually, he was already jumped off the porch in that area, right?
Yeah.
And he was already using. And so being that you was around him and you was like, well, I'm interested in doing this drug, right? But you didn't know how to get it, acquire it.
Yeah.
And so what happened? How did you do once away from that level to when you wanted the drug?
Yeah.
What did you start doing to get the drug?
So after that, between my 9th and 10th grade year, wherever it was at, I was like, wherever I came across it, I was there.
Mm-hmm.
And I made sure to, implement it myself there where it was being done so I can do it, because that's all I could think of since that first day. So that's how, saying that now, it's like, that just goes to show, the grasp that it had on me.
Wow.
For 3 years up until that point.
Yeah.
And even longer, of course, now, but.
You deal with this addiction from 13 on and off, or just from 13 straight?
Well, so in 9th and 10th grade, wherever I could get meth, I got it. And when it took a lot of meth to get me high, I started smoking weed.
Mm-hmm. And
when it took a lot of weed to get me high, I would go back to meth. And I took pride in that, this whatever it is that I'm doing, I can stop.
Mm-hmm.
Because it clearly is having less of an effect, so I'm gonna go to this other thing, and then put that down, and then go back, and then put that down, and I did that for 2 years, and then 2006, there was some good stuff going around, and by then, I was in 11th grade, I was already ditching school in 10th grade, and one of the teachers had said something about the SATs not mattering or anything like that, has nothing to do with your grades. So I was like, all right, bet, all that the Scantron test, I just bubbled in, design.
So it started affecting your grades, basically.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And so, the 11th grade, I did a lot of different drugs.
Now let's move on a little fast forward on the situation now. Like I said, you was from middle school, right? High school, you experiment. Now this was the only drug that you experiment with, no drinking and no alcohol, anything like that.
Yeah, the alcohol didn't get bad until 11th, the end of 11th grade. When I completely dropped out of school.
Was you a true alcoholic?
Yeah, that's actually what took me to my first treatment center when I was 17.
Give a definition of true alcoholic. So the viewers will know what a true alcoholic is. That's true alcoholic is.
True alcoholic. What is true?
True alcoholic is a person that wakes up with a beer.
Okay. Yeah. No, I was. Yeah.
They wake up. They shakes. They had the tremor.
Withdrawals.
You know, they had withdrawals. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I didn't get the shakes, but I ended up in back of a lot of ambulances, a couple of cop cars.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that, the medical side of it.
Yeah.
Now, how many times was you in and out of medical treatment behind drugs and alcohol?
Oh man, countless times.
Wow.
Yeah, and all I can think about when hearing that question is what my mom had to go through.
Wow.
You know, and like it pains me to even think about how she felt. You know,
Yeah.
meeting me at the hospital, seeing me, because I only know what she told me, how I wilded out at the hospital. You know, like, and then at another time where I was like bleeding profusely from my nose and she pulled up to the ambulance, but I was, it was just a mess, you know, and yeah, man, that sucks.
Yeah.
I can only imagine, especially being a parent now, like,
Yeah.
excuse my language.
No, it's okay. It's definitely an emotional situation for the parents because, you know, they raise you better to be a better person. And a lot of times when drugs and alcohol have a lot to play with, we basically, we take a gamble. We take a gamble with our lives now, understanding what drugs would do to you, what alcohol would do to you. You know what I'm saying? And making the choices and decisions in life that, ultimately are bad decisions, but really we are learning from them. I'm glad that you're here today, and I'm glad that you had to go and got treatment, and and that's good, man. It's a good thing, man. So the delusion, with the lies that drugs and alcohol had you believing within your addiction, how did in the situation when your brain, you start thinking, I can get away with this, I can get away with that, I can still do this, I can be a functional addict, let's talk about that.
So definitely, the main thing was that I was having fun, right? And I'm young, and I'm not hurting anybody else but myself. Like, it's okay that I'm bleeding profusely from my nose because it's coming out of me, it's my body, there's no way I'm affecting you. Like, just.
Was you a hustler?
No, definitely not, right? That kind of stuff even made me feel indifferent even more, even more indifferent than I already felt.
Little did I know at the ladies, it's something now. We can trying to talk about it now.
Little did I know at the time that I was running away from myself.
Yeah.
You know, I was trying to find something within myself that I already had that I didn't know that I had.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I didn't know that at the time. Like, I just know what the alcohol worked, and because I didn't have to think about anything else other than having fun.
And then basically what Jose is saying is basically he was trying to fill that void. He was searching for something that was empty inside of him. So he was trying to fill that void. And drugs, alcohol at that moment in time, temporary, filled that void. And however it branched off of, it could be self-esteem issues, it could have been any type of situation, childhood trauma, any type of situation where it could have built and built and built to the point where drug play was totally out of control, right?
Yeah.
You start losing your self-value.
Yes, absolutely. And so I ended up in treatment when I was 17 years old. I'm 36 now, or I'll be 36 this year. I'm 17 years old.
When the treatment was 17.
Yeah, I was only supposed to be in there for 2 months, right? And after the first month, I had this very vivid spiritual experience, right? And there's a few of these that I've had that are,
Let's talk about it.
Okay, so one of the very first ones I've had, this lays in the groundwork for, a couple of things in my story. It was me and a couple of my friends. We were in the back of my friend's grandpa's Tahoe, waiting to turn left into the school, right? And we're sitting at the red light, waiting to turn left. And next thing I know, I just hear, "Put your seatbelt on, you're gonna crash." And I was like, "What the?" I went like this. I looked at them. They're asleep. I looked at the grandpa. He's just, he's not looking around. He's looking straight, waiting for the light. And then I heard it again. "Put your seatbelt on, you're gonna crash." And I was like, and then I sat back like this, and there's a toggle, right? So I looked in the back. And I looked at them again. They're asleep. I listened for the sound coming from the speakers to identify whether, if that's the sound, if it's the same sound coming from the speakers that I'm hearing this voice in. And it wasn't. And then your seatbelt on, you're gonna crash. I was okay. So I grabbed the seatbelt, I went like this, and I went to click it, and before I clicked it, I looked up, the light turned green, so I let it go. I didn't buckle it. And we're making the left, and as we're turning left, I go like this, looking out the window, and here comes a Mustang flying.
Wow.
Boom.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, just the good and gracious of God that, you know, he wasn't hurt or anything like that, man.
So that was the first real vivid spiritual experience that I had. The second one was at the end of the first month when I was in treatment, when I was 17. We were at a meeting, and the counselor that drove us there was sharing, and I remember it was like a long table, and I was on this side, and he was there, and so I'm sitting there, and then next thing I know, like visually, I'm not in the meeting. Visually, I'm in the background, all the imagery, like a dining room table, right?
No.
Like visually, I'm no longer in the meeting. Visually, what I see is a dining room table, and I'm like in the background, right? And there's a man sitting at the table. There's a kid in the high chair, another kid next to the high chair, and a woman, you know, apron and everything, serving it. And then I came back, boom, and I was like, whoa. I looked around, I was like, I don't know what I look like right now when that occurred. So like, I was wondering if anybody else seen any, you know, if I made any kind of, I don't know how I looked, you know. So I looked around at everybody, nobody seemed to notice. So, and I literally asked, what was that? And the response I got was, this is what you can have if you do this.
Yeah.
And so I made the decision to stay in that treatment center till I aged out. I was only supposed to be in there 2 months, and I stayed in there for 5 months.
Wow. And a lot of times people don't, you know, the thing is, you know, you can either have a spiritual awakening or a spiritual experience. Some people have both. The spiritual experience, I done had a few of them, and he's talking about some of the spiritual experience he's had. Spiritual awakening is when, you know, you complete that fourth step. You know what I mean? And the truth comes alive within you. You know what I'm saying? That you know things about you that you didn't really pay attention to. You know what I'm saying? When you get to that fourth step, a lot of times people drag their feet on the fourth step.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They don't want to know the truth about themselves. But that's great, Jose, man. Like I say, and you know, a lot of times when it's spiritual experience, man, that's God. You know, He's relating His plan to you. You know what I'm saying? He wants you to understand. He wants you to, hey, this is time to stand up. It's time to be that man, the best version of yourself. You know what I mean? A lot of times people know that we have to pay attention to the signs and wonders in our lives and other people's lives, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what happened when you was at your rock bottom?
Okay. Now, so my rock bottom. This is another thing. That same. You know, I call them guiders, God. You know, whoever it is that was with me. During the span of the 10 years of my initial usage, I'm maybe around year 8, I heard 10 years. 10 years.
You heard 10 years.
10 years.
You heard in your conscious.
Yeah.
Okay.
10 years. And I was like, 10 years. 10 years. 10 years. Oh, 10 years and then stop? Okay. All right. And 10 years. I was like, all right, cool. And the 10-year mark comes, and I got this like overwhelming wave of like everything I missed, like signs and cues of everything that I was losing, everything that I lost up until that point. And so 23, at the age of 23, and I was sitting at the kitchen table in my mom's house, and there was people around me. It kind of really, I know my mom was there, a couple other people, but it was like they were just, it was like in the background. You know, you see in the movies where like things are moving fast around the person and then one person sitting still. It was like that. And just a wave of literally the last 10 years, everything I lost, the cues I missed, things where I went wrong, and I didn't stop.
You didn't stop.
I didn't stop. And that was the year that I got drugged and sexually assaulted. And, you know, I only know of the two, I have no recollection of the event. I just know that, you know, 2 people were involved because they spoke about it one of them spoke about it to me directly, like it was no big deal. And the other one, I overheard him talking to someone else about it, and yeah, so.
And how did you get involved with these type of people that were around you? These were people that you were doing drugs with?
Yeah, so one of this other person that I know that I grew up with, one of my neighbors, took me down to that house, right?
Yeah.
And so 2 weeks, or like a week and a half into after what they did to me happened, I was thinking about it and thinking about like how could I let this happen to myself and and then it hit me. He took me down there for that to happen to me. So I asked him. I went to his house. He said on the computer. And I said, "Hey man, when you took me down there, did you know what was gonna happen to me?" And he on the computer just laughs and says, "Yeah."
Wow.
Didn't even look at me. Just yeah.
Uh-huh.
So that the other thing, man, that day in that man's house over the radio while he was prepping whatever it was, to put me out with. Because he was like, "You hungry? You want some Kool-Aid?" Boom, sandwich and Kool-Aid, and that's the last thing I remember. And so, the radio was on, and it was baseball season because it was a '76 commercial, and we're giving away Dodger tickets, like they do every year. And over the speakers, I heard "Go Home" louder than the rest of the commercial,
Wow.
and I didn't go home.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, man. I'm sorry to hear that happened to you, man. But a lot of times people understand, God be warning us, man.
Yeah.
He be warning us. His angels are around us at all times to protect us, man. And if we don't heed, we don't take heed to the warning signs, a lot of things happen. And I'm sorry that happened to you, man.
Yeah, and so about two and a half weeks, the third week after this happened, I was done. Like I tried to figure out how it happened, and how could I let myself, allow this to happen. And then I found out, and I realized he took me down there. Then I asked him about it, and then I was done, just done, like ready to end it. And I was in my bedroom at my mom's house, and just like I was literally crying, looking up, crying, like I'm done, fuck this, I'm done. Excuse my language. And there's that voice again. There's that guy there again. They need to hear your story. I was like, out loud, I was like, what? I was like, no, fuck that. I was like, fuck that. Like, and then I just kept hearing, they need to hear your story. They need to hear your story. They need to hear your story. And I was just like, why? Just crying out loud to, looking up and just crying literally out loud, like, why? Like, fuck that, why? They need to hear your story. They need to hear your story. That's all.
Yeah.
That's literally like the only reason why I'm here today. Because that time I listened.
Yeah. And now you're starting to take heed now. And you understand, and like it takes nuts, man. It takes nuts. I commend you, bro, for being able to share this, man. Because a lot of times there's people out here that's viewing this right now that probably been in the same shoes, man. You know what I'm saying? And things that happened to them, trauma that's happened to them, things that they weren't in the graces and mercy. They stepped out of the grace and mercy of God, and things happen. But they're able to hear your story, and hopefully they'll be able to heal. Because every time you tell your story, you share your story, healing comes, man.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm pretty sure it's been happening more times. You have shared your story.
Yeah.
You can be able to get through that trauma, man.
Yeah, definitely. And anytime I do share that story, if I ever get hesitant, I just remember that moment. They need to hear your story. They need to hear your story. And that drove me to keep coming, because the first time I went first time I was introduced to recovery was when I was 17, and so and then I went back home, obviously, because I was 17 and 23 that happened, and periodically, every now and again, I would randomly on my own find a meeting, go there, and because I knew this is where I needed to be. I knew because of that vivid that vivid vision that I saw, right? I decided that I wanted that, so I found myself here and there finding meetings, but I went to treatment after that, in total 6 times. In 2019, I was done. hurting other people because of my trauma,
Mhm.
right? And unfortunately, the mother of my children got the brunt of it, and she absolutely did not deserve any of the verbal abuse that I put upon her, and it's sad. It saddens me because she got the brunt of it, and she had nothing to do with anything that happened to me. We just met at I met her right after not 2 months, a couple months after that happened to me. So, and we kind of bonded, and and then we had our first kid, and I just didn't deal with what happened to me, and so my anger got the best of me, and that's something that I'm gonna have to live with.
The therapeutic side of it, you know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure that you had to, visit a therapist, right? I mean,
Yeah.
some treatment.
Yeah.
But
2019, I couldn't do it anymore. I was like
so you
really
experienced
thought.
suicidal thoughts and stuff like that? Or
In 2019, no, I was done being angry. I was
done being angry, okay.
Yeah, in 2019, I was done being angry. I was done lashing out. I was done. All the people, everybody that I pushed away from me and lashed out at
Mhm.
did not deserve what they were getting from me.
Exactly.
And I felt that wholeheartedly. And so since then, I've been seeking change.
That's awesome. Since 2019.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is your relationship with spirituality, what is your relationship with God? And how do you view your higher power, God?
My relationship with God is strong, right? There was a time where, when I was first homeless, because I would get signs, right? There would be signs, and something would catch my eye, and I'd be like, oh, because it caught my eye, that's the sign, right? That's the correct sign. But I was like uncertain, right? 'Cause, I don't know. Like sometimes it made sense, sometimes it didn't. Is that true? Is that the truth? Is it because my eyes, went that direction and caught that thing that I read? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I prayed and I asked God for the signs that are being given to me, for me to know without a doubt that they are signs for me. Man, after that, everything that came in, it was like one after the other, and I accepted it for what it was because I knew there was no that doubt that I had before. Uncertainty was not there anymore.
Mhm.
So after that, that's when my relationship with God was. That's where the foundation was built.
The foundation.
The foundation of my relationship with my higher power.
So how do you talk to God? How do you communicate?
Sometimes I pray. I also, it's almost like intuitively knowing what to do. It's like I'm connected with source, one with God, and so my every step, I know without a doubt that is what I need to do. So I don't know, man. The connection I have with my higher power, with God,
He orders your steps. That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
He orders your steps.
Yeah.
And especially dealing with your sobriety, and you get the foundation up underneath you, man. You complete your 12 steps, right?
Correct, I did. And so, like I said, I went to treatment first time when I was 17, and I got a sponsor there, right? And we had one meeting, and I did step one, and that was it. And then the last couple times that I went to treatment, didn't get a sponsor, didn't do any of the steps. I was trying to work on the trauma.
No, you were
right. I was trying to, figure out why I was, treating the mother of my children so, harshly, because and those were my biggest two motivations that I needed to change. That would lead to my change, to the change that I desperately need.
Yeah.
And so
you were talking about 12 steps. You were
Oh
talking-
yeah, 12 steps. So this, I was working for a treatment center, right? I just got out of treatment, 2023, and everything, the groups there were, great. They were fantastic. I did a lot of learning about myself, a lot of growing. Figured out about self-sabotage, why I found a lot of accountability.
Okay.
A lot of accountability. And that's what I needed.
That's what you need.
That's absolutely what I needed, because I could no longer, there's no blaming anybody, in 2019 I was done blaming anybody else for my problems, any situation for my behavior.
Yeah.
Like, I am responsible for my own behavior, and how I'm behaving was no longer okay with me. It wasn't okay with me to begin with.
Yeah.
I was just, before that was making, nobody knows how I feel, nobody cares about how I feel, you can't, you know what I mean, all this blaming. And so, when I was working for this treatment center after I got out of when I was working for this treatment center after I got out of rehab this last time, I was sober 10 months, that's the other thing. I always managed, the first time I went to treatment was in July, right?
Okay.
And I wholeheartedly believe around this time is, and July is about the time that I start messing up, right? Every other time after that in treatment. And so, it correlates with, the occurrence of the trauma, and then I learned that, it probably also has to do with, because of the, at the time I felt like I failed my recovery when I wanted it so wholeheartedly. But
you was working without a sponsor at that time. So
yeah,
that's just the key right there to it.
And every time in the meetings you always hear, all these positive sayings, and it works if you work it, and all these things, and I believe that these people believe it, right? But after that trauma, I was okay not being okay, and I just
emotions.
Yeah, and I didn't think anything was gonna take that away. Like, I was nothing's gonna take away how I feel. Like, any kind of hostile encounter I get into with people, with somebody, I just laugh and
So you had to
bring it on,
Yeah,
because
there's-
nobody can, oh man, nobody can make me feel the pain that I already felt within myself. You know what I mean? Like, it's like a sense of self-harm, getting into, arguments and fist fights, like,
you've been there.
yeah, man, like, no, you know what I mean? Like, any kind of physical harm done to me will never amount to the emotional pain that I felt.
Wow.
And so, 10 months, I'm 10 months and 17 days sober today.
Wow.
And
Awesome.
thank you.
Awesome.
And so 10 months ago, I relapsed, right? I went to a family gathering, and I wasn't really doing a program at the time anyways. I was sober, and I had worked a lot on the anger, a lot on the accountability, a lot of, so I'm like, okay, I'm okay right now, you know what I mean? So I just flew under the radar, and then I went to that family gathering. I came back, like, I had a scratch on my neck here, I had a fractured rib, I was
Like, you look like you was in a bar fight or something.
yeah, man, and I was down there, at the gathering, and I was like, what really I had to sit with was, when I was down there, I was like, kill me, bury me out here, I don't care, like, all this, like, pain still, right, that I had thought I'd worked through. And so when I got back, I was like, I remembered everything I said, everything that I did, and so I had to sit with that on top of the fractured rib.
Let's talk about that.
And
Let's talk about that. The guilt and shame that you felt when you came back Because you came right back to treatment right after that happened.
Yeah.
What,
Right back to
what
work,
did you feel like? What the guilt and shame? Like, and see, a lot of times people don't understand, like, listen, if you fall, get your butt back up. Keep on trying, keep on fighting. If you relapse, get your butt back up.
Yeah.
It don't make no sense you staying down, because you got a family that loves you, man.
Yeah.
We do recover. You know, some people do fall down, but it's, the object of the game is get back up and keep fighting. Now, how did you say you had to sit on it? You had to let that sit on you, right?
Yeah, I had to really sit with everything that I said that evening. Like, I had to really sit with the fact that I really wanted to die. I really didn't care if I died. Like,
Wow.
and that I had to sit with that, and sober, when I got back, I had to, like, because, you always hear when, your true feelings come out when you're drunk, right? So,
Yeah.
that, knowing that, coming back sober, I'm like, okay, you really felt like that. That you really didn't care, you really don't care if you die. That's not okay, man.
It's not
Like,
okay.
I had to tell myself, it's not, like, you got 2 kids, you got family that love you,
Yeah.
family that has always loved you,
Yeah.
and has always been there for you,
Yeah.
and
It's not an option.
and so I surrendered.
Yeah.
I surrendered to what I knew since I was 17
Wow.
to be the truth and to be my, a path, to clarity, to a new life, to change, and
That's deep. That's deep, man.
and so 10 months and 17 days ago, I came back and I sat with that, and I got a sponsor. I surrendered, man. I surrendered, and I got a sponsor. I worked the steps. I got to 4, and I didn't sit on it. I just did it, and then I did 4 and 5, and also when I was after that occurrence of that trauma, right? The volume on my inner monologue, on my thoughts, like the volume knob was turned all the way up to max, and broken off. The volume knob was. So my thoughts were like, loud.
So now you not only was dealing with the addiction part, you was dealing with the mental part also.
Yeah, man.
See, a lot of times people don't understand that. When people come into treatment, they're dealing with 2 different abuse. You know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
Drug addiction and then the mental.
Yeah.
The mental part is, man, that's tricky, man. Man, that's crazy, man. So you were
Yeah.
dealing with both, so you had to try to figure it out.
Yeah, man.
You had a
Yeah.
sponsor for one, but then the other one you had to see a psychiatrist.
Yeah, and I did it, and
Wow.
it's been a struggle. It's been a struggle, and I give credit, to my family, to my loved ones, because they were there. They always, ask me if I'm okay, wonder if I'm alright, and I don't know, I just always push that away,
Yeah.
I gotta figure this out on my own. It's my problem. I gotta situate it on my own. I got myself into it, So there's no, I'm not gonna put you through that. I never really wanted I never wanted anybody else to be affected by my stuff, by anything that I did. And so from 23 to 10 months ago, the volume on my thoughts was, bro, like, I should just be sitting and, before that, it was just normal thoughts, watching TV, having, just normal inner monologue. The volume was turned all the way up, the volume knob was broken off. And so I did 4 and 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a little bit of weight was lifted, right? My shoulders dropped, a little bit of clarity. And so that gave me a little shove, right?
Mhm.
To do, I was gonna do the steps regardless, but like, I literally felt the weight lifted. So then that gave me a little shove to do 7 and 8, right?
Yeah.
And so I did 7 and 8. I listed defects, and there was
Defects of character, right?
yeah, man. There was a list of defects on. My sponsor gave me a list of defects, and he's like, "All right, man, pick which ones you have."
Shouts out to Chris, the sponsor.
Yes, Chris W is my sponsor. Thank you. And so I'm going through this list, and I'm like, okay, yeah, boom, I got that one. He's like, write all the ones you got. I was like, all right, boom, right on the left side of the page. I was like, okay, so there's more coming if it's that specific. So I was like, all right, so one thing at a time. And so periodically I wanted to jump and write both of them. He's like, no, just do you know, right? The ones you have on the left side. Okay.
Mhm.
So, and there was some in there that was like, that like, I forget exactly what defect it was, but when I read it, I was like, there's no way that's a defect, bro. Like, that's just, you know, me being like myself. Like, what? And I was like, and then, you know, I'm like, bro, it's on the paper, put it down.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, boom. So I put it down, and then he's like, okay, now write the opposite ones on the right side of the page. So I did that, and then I was like, well, okay, so there's more. Initially I was like, all right, cool, like this is a simple enough assignment, right? And then he hit me with out of nowhere, and when I was like, okay, you done? I was like, yeah. And he's like, all right, now, what if these were two different kinds of people, which one would you rather hang out with? I was like, oh.
Ooh, that's deep.
Yeah, I was
That's
like,
deep.
yeah. I was like, okay, yeah, everybody doesn't, like, you know, all that, like, nobody loves me, everybody hates me, all that,
Yeah.
out the window.
Woe me.
Yeah, out the window, you know, I complete accountability at that point.
Yeah.
And so,
And that's where the healing comes in at.
yeah, man.
That's when the spiritual awakening, when your spirit come alive, and you start to see your defaults and character, like, hey, that's me. Yeah, that's me. I gotta go and cut that up off of me.
Yeah.
In order for me to keep pushing for greatness, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's man, that's deep. That's
And
deep.
so I did 6 and 7,
Yeah.
and then 2 days later, I'm sitting down, you know, here in the back of the house. I'm sitting there, and I'm like, oh shit, there's gone. Volume's not. There hasn't, you know, and the volume of my thoughts there was like no manic thoughts. There was no like loud thoughts. It was little, you know.
What you talking about? These loud voices? You saying like just voices in your head, or you distortion, so the psychosis? What was it?
No, just like natural, normal thoughts. Yeah.
You gotta clarify that.
Yeah, sorry. Natural, normal thoughts. They were just, the volume was just loud, you know. And but after 6 and 7, 2 days later, I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh shit, there hasn't been, you know, any noise, and then my thoughts haven't been how they've been since I was 23. And I was like, man. At that point, I was like, all right, bet.
You can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, man. I was like, I'm doing this. I'm finishing it, and you know, I'm gonna take, you know, one day at a time. Literally, like another thing that's, you know, heavily, you know, repeated a lot.
Yeah.
But it's real. It's real, because I find myself living in the past, which does me no good, right? Because then I live in shame and guilt and sorrow and sadness. I've done that for far too long. I'm done with that.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and then if I start thinking about the future, then I start worrying and get concerned, and then, you know, I'm taking no action in the moment. And so, you know, at 6 and 7, I'm just, you know, after 6 and 7, that pushed me to do 8 and 9. So, yeah, so I did 8 and 9, made, you know, still got some amends to make, and yeah, man,
Now, one thing, my sponsor, he always told me, he's like, you know, it's one thing about it, he used this terminology, what the illustration, he was like, it's like you in this house, right, you in this big house, and he's got several rooms in these houses, right, and all these rooms need to be cleaned out, you know what I'm saying, he's got to be organized, you know what I'm saying, so you start in one room, you organize it, get it clean, organize it, and you knock the other 2 rooms out, and you got the other side of the house to get done, right, you don't sit back and wait. You know what I'm saying? Because then the house is going to be unequally done. You want to keep cleaning. And then you're going to be constant cleaning.
Yeah.
You're keeping this house up because dust keeps falling.
Yeah.
Right? Trash keeps building.
Yeah.
Right? Same thing with our spirit, our mental, our physical. We still got to keep everything in line. Right? You know what I mean? When we work on ourselves, it's always a constant maintenance. People understand. As long as you're able to wake up in the morning, you know what I'm saying, get your daily reflection in, get your daily meditation in, get your daily prayer in. You know what I'm saying? You're able to keep your soul, keep your spirit free. You know what I mean? And you're able to allow God to navigate your day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's nothing beautiful than that when before you leave the house, you know, before you step out the door, you already got your day planned.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you're ready for any type of challenges that comes with it. Because you know, you're not gonna walk out the door and think nothing gonna happen. Somebody gonna try to piss you off. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be somebody that get up underneath your skin. But you gotta be able to handle that. You know what I'm saying? How do you handle that? Through meditation, through prayer. You know what I'm saying? Through, hey, listen, I gotta keep myself in check.
Yeah.
At all times. I gotta keep my emotions in check.
Yeah, and that leads me to 8 and 9. That leads me to 10 and 11, man.
10 and 11, man.
And so, you know, That's the maintenance part of this whole thing. Is you from 4 to 9, you're doing it's all action, and I can't stress this enough. I did it thoroughly, right? Because I was completely willing, right? Before I was willing, but I wasn't completely willing.
You was halfway.
Yeah, because there were things I wanted to change, but can I stop drinking for the rest of my life? I don't know. There was.
Did you have any reservations planned?
Yeah, you know what I mean? And so 10 and 11, man, the daily maintenance, the daily meditation, in the mornings I wake up, I do a couple readings. In the evenings I do my nightly inventory. Where was I wrong? Do I owe anybody apology? And at a couple days ago, in the morning I was doing the reading, and I was like, oh man, it works. The morning readings, like Jody says, he always tells us.
Jody always says.
Yeah, shout out to Jody. It just becomes natural at a certain point, and it helps you with your encounters throughout the day. For me, it's
21 days converted habit. It converts to habit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and for me, it's beautiful to take a step, to make a move, or to not make a move without any conditions, any emotions attached to those moves. Because that's another thing that I had a real issue with. I've always had
feelings.
Yeah, man. As long as I can remember, I move emotionally, and
that's a lot of people, man. A lot of people actually. That's when they walk out their door. They got an attitude. Yeah, what's wrong with you? Nothing's wrong with me.
Yeah.
But you can see it all over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I'm not perfect, and it's just not completely gone away, but it's gotten. Doing the work, I wholeheartedly believe that it's gotten better, and I'm not completely free of reacting emotionally. We're emotional, beings as humans, but I'm better today.
Yeah, and the important word you said, the key word is willingness. You have willingness. If you're willing to work on yourself, you know what I mean. You're willing for a miracle. You're opening the door for a miracle. You know what I'm saying, and bringing in to the new best version of who you are, who you're becoming. You know what I'm saying.
Yes.
A lot of times people are not willing to do that. You know what I'm saying. Faith without works is dead. If you got no action, you just talking about it. And you put no footwork in,
bro.
It's not gonna happen for you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that's been a huge part of my story. I've always known what to do, what direction to go, how it could be done, how it's supposed to be done, how it should be done, and just never made those moves. Never took that action.
I mean, another question I want to ask you is for people that's really suffering out there, people that are still dealing with the addiction, what kind of advice would you give those people that is that are still sick, they're still struggling, that maybe possibly been through certain things that certain things that you've been through, they probably been through. What can you tell the viewers?
Without giving a forward direction, because we don't really like anybody telling us what to do, but internally, in your heart when you've had enough. And I get it, at times you just don't know what to do, don't know where to go. The only thing I can suggest is to seek that help. Seek help somewhere. We have these magical devices in our pockets, in our hands every day. If you don't got one, they're giving them out, in front of the ESS office.
You can get it from somewhere.
Somewhere. You can go to the library, go online, find your nearest meeting. There are people out there who do want to help, and I know those of you that are out there that want help is there. Change can happen. If you want that change wholeheartedly in your heart, and you desire that change, you're in a place that your spirit can no longer thrive in. Make that move, make that decision, make that call, search up that your nearest meeting, your nearest treatment center, and it may happen where a lot of times how it happens is like, okay, they'll have you keep calling, right? Or like you call on a Friday, all right, come see us on Monday, come see us on Tuesday, right? It's like, oh man, I gotta wait the weekend, because when you're done, man.
Yeah.
And that has happened to me a lot. It's like, man, you want me to what? Keep calling you for a week?
Yeah.
Like, and don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up on yourself, man.
And follow your intuition.
Yeah.
You know wholeheartedly if you're struggling and you want out, what to do.
There's resources out there, man. Like I said, if you guys you need to get in contact with anybody, like I said, leave comments. Please, you see these videos and you like these videos, y'all love these videos, we're representing the recovery community. Shouts out to High Vision Wellness Center, shouts out to Serenity Pathways, shouts out to Wish, shouts out to Uplift, all the surrounding rehabs. Even shouts out to all you guys, man, because you guys do a good work in the community out here and you're helping people around the nation to get help.
Definitely.
We appreciate that.
Definitely, and if I had to give you a suggestion of which treatment centers to call, I can say the ones that I've gone to and have gotten a lot of help from. Grandview, right, in Pasadena, right. I was there for 23 days. Every single day I had progress.
Yeah.
Every single day.
You got an IG page, give your IG information and everything.
Okay. Yeah, it'll be.
We'll post it
on
on
the
the
link.
video.
Okay. And so Grandview in Pasadena, Cry Help in North Hollywood, Phoenix House, Venice, Phoenix House, Orange County. Those are the places that I went to, and Touchstones when I was an adolescent. As an adolescent treatment center in Orange County. I don't know if they're still around, but those are the places that I went to, and that's how I got my help. That's how I'm able, even here right now to be able to make this podcast, be present with these gentlemen, and be speaking to y'all out there.
Well, thank you, Jose. Appreciate you, man, for the story. Your powerful testimony, man.
Thank you.
I'm glad you came on, man, and shared insight on who you are and what is to become for you. What do you got coming in the near future?
In the near future, man, right now I'm just, I'm working. I got a couple little, valet jobs here and there, saving up some money. I got two beautiful daughters, and and I'm ready to do my part. As their father, and as the other half of of their parent, of who their parents are, I'm ready to do my part as a whole, man. Help their mother out. Like, I haven't been there, as much as I would have liked to, and I'm daily making the change.
That's good.
If I say anything to my daughters, I want them to know that I'm away right now, but I'm daily making the change to better myself.
That's good,
So I
man.
can be in your, ever present in your lives.
That's good, man. I appreciate you to share, man. Guys, make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe. This is Breaking Boundaries, and we out here. Salute.
Thank you.